So today's video is going to be all about foundations. I've gotten a few questions on the best foundations for olive skin tones, so I'm really excited to finally sit down and give you an in-depth explanation about everything. So aside from reviewing all the foundations, I'm also going to be emphasizing on what shades are perfect for olive skin tones, how to choose the best foundation shades, my personal top 5 favorite foundations for olive skin tones, which include both drugstore products as well as high-end or medium, and I'm also going to be taking you through a demonstration by showing you basically how it applies as well as swatching the foundations on my arms. But I basically found that these foundations blend in really well with my skin tone and looks very natural as well as enhances my complexion, which is why I specifically added these 5 foundations to the list. So the first important thing you need to know is that olive skin is a color on the human skin spectrum that has a green, yellow, gold, and even sometimes gray undertone. So basically when choosing and purchasing your foundation, if you do have olive skin, I would recommend going for a more neutral tone just in order to balance and enhance your olive color. So however, you could still have olive skin and lean more towards the warmer side, which is a warm olive, or leaning more towards the cooler tones, which is a cool olive. So if you're more of a pure neutral olive skin tone, then I would recommend opting for a true neutral toned foundation, and if you are leaning more towards the cool side, then go for a more pink toned foundation, and if you're leaning more towards the warm side, then go for a more yellow toned foundation, but still remaining within that neutral category. I hope my explanation about choosing the right foundation shades if you are olive skin tones makes sense to you, but I'll show you what I mean when I apply the foundations as well in this video. So let's move straight into the top 5 foundations. My first favorite foundations for olive skin tones in no order of preference is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, which is such a classic foundation. They've been around for years and they've always had such a big variety of shades, even in the past, going back a few years. They always catered to so many different skin tones. They basically kept everyone in mind right from the beginning, and all brands should be welcoming of everyone. So this foundation is meant to have a matte finish, has an SPF of 15, and is meant to be long wearing, full coverage, as well as resistant to sweat and humidity. So with this MAC foundation, I personally like to have a little bit of a yellow tone in it. I think that works well with my skin tone. Yeah, so I basically go with the shades NC20, NC25, and NC30, just depending on whether it's summer or winter, as I'm usually more tan during the summer. But some neutral toned foundation shades that I can recommend within this MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation are the C4.5, which is a tanned neutral with peach undertones, and the NW35, which is a beige neutral. And if you need something a bit lighter in neutral, you can also try the NW22, which is a warm beige with rosy undertones, but all still within the neutral category. So it all basically depends on your personal preference and whether you are a warm toned olive or a cool toned olive. And this is basically how it applies. And by the way, I do like to do my eye makeup first because sometimes there's fallout from the eyeshadow and I have to kind of like wipe that off, which also rubs off my foundation, and then reapply. So in order to avoid all of that, I just do my eye makeup first, and then that way I can clean all of the fallout and then apply foundation. So my second top foundation is the Rare Beauty Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation by the beautiful Selena Gomez. Absolutely love her and her makeup line or beauty line. Rare Beauty actually has a whole section for olive skin tones and catering to us individuals' olive skin, which is amazing. This foundation is described as a foundation with a natural finish but still having a medium to full coverage, and then you can also build on top of that. So the shade I'm currently using is the 230N, and on the description it also says neutral olive, so that is perfect for me as I have a neutral olive skin tone. If you're a shade darker than me but still a neutral olive, then I would get the shade 280N. This foundation blends in so well with my natural skin tone, and it feels very lightweight, like I barely feel like I have anything on, but it still has great coverage, and you can also build on the coverage as well depending on your personal preference, which is why I absolutely love this foundation. It is one of my favorite foundations and hence why it's on this top 5 foundations list as well. And by the way, I'm also currently wearing this foundation right now in shade 230N. But now it's so hard to breathe. Just get me out of here. the third foundation on my list is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte Poreless Foundation. This foundation is a medium coverage foundation and it claims to erase your pores with a matte finish. So my shade with this foundation is the Classic Ivory in 120 during winter and the 220 in Natural Beige during summer. And if you're a shade darker, then try the Classic Beige in shade 245. So my skin tone or color fluctuates between the seasons and that's just how it is. But those shades all have a nice neutral undertone to them, which is again great for olive skin tones. This foundation, as well as you can see here through the application, blends in really well with my natural skin tone. The next foundation is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filtr'd Soft Matte Longwear Foundation. So as the name says, it is meant to give you that photo filter finish or effect. This foundation is a medium to full coverage and it's meant to have an oil-free formula that's resistant to sweat and humidity. The shade that I used is the shade 235, which is recommended for individuals with medium deep skin tones with a yellow undertone. Again, my personal preference with this specific foundation is to have a little bit of yellow in it, which is why I chose this particular shade. But if you're after a true neutral tone, then I would go with the shades 230, which is a light medium with neutral undertones, or the shade 290, which is a medium with warm olive undertones. The final foundation is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Luminous Matte Liquid Foundation. Okay, so this foundation is a full coverage foundation. And when I say full, I really mean full coverage. So I personally like using this foundation for special events or special makeup looks, special makeup videos. When I want my foundation to cover everything up and then stay on for hours and hours. The shade that I use is the 320G in swatches, which is a great color with an olive undertone. However, I found that this foundation does oxidize a little bit into like an orangey color, which I personally don't mind. But if you don't like that, then I would recommend the Butter Pecan in number 330N, which is another option because this one oxidizes into more of a neutral olive undertone rather than orange. So you can go for that depending on your personal preference.
With us it's all or nothing. Ooh, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing, but guess I need more of you. You say it during night, but in the morning.
Okay, so that was the entire video. I tried to pack in as much information as possible about all the foundations as quickly as I could. So I hope you got a lot out of it. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video.